I hope that you will help yourself. Just help yourself. Just help yourself out a bit. Read the docs. Please read the docs. If you read the docs, you might find success. Sure. No one ever reads the docs, though. No matter if I sing it, no matter if I yell it, no one really wants to read the docs. But, as of today, I'm hoping that maybe it's a little nicer for you to read the docs because two excellent human beings, Mike Pirog and John Ouellette, who are both co-maintainers of Lando, have done us all a big favor, and they have updated the Lando docs. Yeah, you'll notice it looks a little different. Got a new logo. Yay, it looks a little cooler. I like that. But I was just going to, today I was going to kind of dive through what's changed about the docs. There's a really fundamental change I've been talking about throughout the last few videos I've been doing. So if you've been following along with any of the videos I've done, you've probably heard about this already, but it's a pretty big architectural change that's been made to Lando, which is we've federated out all of the different plugins that compose Lando into their own project repos. And in each of those repos now, we actually have independent docs for each of the plugins. So one of the things you'll notice really quickly when you start browsing through these new doc pages, if you were familiar with the old ones, the top menu bar has changed a bit. It's still kind of the same broad categories. But if you actually go to one of the recipes, say, which a recipe is a type of plugin, what you're viewing is kind of its own siloed doc page, or collection of doc pages, I should say. So you still have that top nav that's all the global Lando stuff, but what you have that's a little different is you have this sidebar over here that's all of these, that's all of the different pages for just the Acquia plugin. So this is me navigating, getting started instructions just for the Acquia plugin, which is super helpful. These are the things, every video I go through, I've basically been going through where I do like a basic spin up of something. I've been going through these types of docs. So if you have questions about something, make sure you've read through all the docs for the relevant recipe or service. Another example of a plugin is a service, things like MariaDB, Memcached, Elasticsearch. All of these are services you can add to your application stack to compose it. And you have many services that compose your application infrastructure. So yeah, so all of these are now their own docs, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. If you're interested in contributing to Lando, things got, in my mind, easier now because you can go to, so it used to be everything was in this Lando docs repo, and now if you, some things are still here, some of like the broad categories of guides that are in Lando Global, Lando 101, these are kind of getting started articles, great to read if you're just like, if you're just starting with Lando. You can tell that Mike and John were working on this late at night because I think we're holding on to our butts, single T here. The commit message, I like that. That shows you the labor of love that is Lando. But yeah, so these are all the global getting started docs. All that's still in Lando/docs. But if I want to see, with one T, if I want to see documentation for a different plugin, I would actually go to that plugin. So right now I'm looking at the Pantheon recipe, which is a good example of a popular Lando plugin. And if I want to see the docs for it, they now live in the docs folder within this recipe. And I would edit these, and that would edit on the docs page, this Pantheon docs section. Behind baseball, these are actually separate sites. You don't really need to know this, but each one of these documentation things is actually a separate ViewPress site. That's the underlying technology that we're using to host. You can see that .viewpress folder right there. That's what we're using to host the docs is ViewPress. Great project. You don't really need to know anything about Vue to contribute to the docs. They're all markdown files. Really familiar if you've dealt with any static site generator in the past, like read the docs or, anything from the last 10 years of static site generators pretty much has pretty familiar markdown conventions and front matter conventions and things that you'll immediately kind of recognize and be able to deal with. So not hard to contribute to the docs. But yeah, so that's the big change that's happened fundamentally. I was going to kind of explore because I haven't really explored what the new docs look like. I kind of thumbed through it a little bit when they were sort of launching it this weekend, but I haven't really explored it. So I'm going to take a couple minutes and just kind of dive in here. I'm going to start just with the homepage, which I don't think, looking at it, nothing much here has changed other than the cool new logo. We got this getting started stuff. Learn more. Where's learn more go? Okay, interesting. So learn more just goes back to the website. We're going to update this, by the way. That's going to happen soon. Probably by the time you watch this, we'll have updated the main site to something that's a little more neato. Sponsor, of course, please sponsor. It's going straight to our GitHub sponsors page. We still, there is a lot of labor that goes into Lando, and not much of it is compensated. So please sponsor if you appreciate what we're doing. Getting started, you can see a list of a lot of our individual sponsors and other folks that are on here, like some of the larger donors. I hugely appreciate our large, our elite level donors that we have here. But let's check out getting started, because this is really where the rubber hits the road for most people. It looks like most of this hasn't changed much, which I expect. I don't think a lot of the content in the docs has changed. It's just, slight organizational changes really are probably the most evident things. So yeah, this is just talking about like what is Lando and like what's it good for, how does it work, kind of like the philosophy behind having everything in your Lando file that you need to actually get going and run and work with your application. Cool. So I don't think much of that has changed. It's been a while since I've looked at this stuff. Cold as ice. Lighting the match. Okay, so these are different examples of more and more expansive Lando files that define our app infrastructure. That's cool. Installation. Most people have probably been on this page. I don't think we do a good enough job of pointing this out, but Mac OS, make sure you get the right DMG package. Maybe that's a change I need to make to the docs. Okay, maybe I already did. That was probably me and I just forgot about it, or someone else. That's cool. ARM64, x64, make sure you choose the ARM64 if you're on an M1 Mac, x64 if you're on an older Intel Mac. So definitely important. I know it's hard when there's multiple callouts. You're like, what do I pay attention to? But that's an important one. You got all the Linux instructions. Yeah, this seems pretty cool. Windows, oh man, I really want to have a better WSL2 guide. We have a guide. I think there's so many different people that have done blog posts on WSL2 and Lando out on the internet. I feel like a lot of people use other people's guides, and ours is probably like not as good, maybe. I think it was good for a moment in time, but we haven't really checked it. So if you want to do something, if you want to contribute to Lando, try installing Lando on WSL2, but using our docs, and like if it doesn't work, help us make that better. That'd be great. And from source, I've done a video on this in the past. You should definitely check that out. Lando 101, has this changed at all? I don't think it has. This is actually a good series. I think this was written by a Lando maintainer, Jeff St. Pierre. Like you should definitely, Serendipity, better known among the community. He did a really good job on this, just giving people started up from the ground up, kind of explain a lot of these concepts. At some point, I should just do a video that goes through all these, because it's a good starting place if you're new to Lando. Guides, I love guides, and they're not. I guess one of the things we can improve here. These are like all the global guides. We've split out the rest of the guides that relate to recipes into their individual docs. So I think like on the Pantheon page, for example, if I go over here to Pantheon, I have separate guides that are just Pantheon guides. So that's kind of cool. That helps. But there's still a lot of guides, and they're not really organized. So that might be something we can improve in the docs, is just segmenting out guides, especially if we start getting more of them, because they can be really handy to do specific things. They're almost like blog articles, like technical blog articles relating to important Lando things. Troubleshooting. Oh man, using Lando with Calvox, I bet we could get rid of that now. I hope no one watching this video, I mean, it'd be nice if you know what CalBox is, I guess, but I kind of hope you don't even know what it is. It's such ancient history. It makes me feel old. Troubleshooting, yeah. These are really good steps if you're somebody that doesn't know where logs are and other how to access logs in Lando and how to report those things. Please report stuff on our Slack. Just to make sure that it's not a known issue and that like creating a GitHub issue is actually appropriate, because GitHub issue bloat is always, every open source project has more issues that get opened than they really can look at. So making sure that you're not creating a duplicate issue, or you're not just having a problem that may be unique to you, and the way you're using Lando is really helpful to do that. The community is often really good at helping out people too. Updating instructions, known issues. Yeah. So not much has changed, I think, in the global docs there, which is great. And everything else is just, it's better segmented out. I love how these are segmented out by hosting integrations, PHP frameworks, stacks. I don't think we did that. I don't think we did this segmenting in the last version of the docs. And this is so much more readable, easy to find stuff. Really like that. Yeah. But I think really, I think that's kind of what the change is. I'm just impressed. Like this actually took a lot of work. I know it's hard to tell from, even if you're someone that was familiar with the old docs, it's probably hard to tell that this was a big change, but it was a lot of work. I saw a lot of work go into this, and I'm hoping that it's really going to help people contribute to the docs, contribute to Lando in general, because documentation is our most frequent contribution point. What I'm going to be doing probably after this video is I'm actually going to be going to the Lando docs repo, and actually maybe we could just try some of that. We could just start some of this right now, just to show you how the whole new system works. We have a bunch of open PRs for our docs, but most of these now regard different recipes. So for example, adds config and install commands for WordPress. This is something now that should probably be over in the WordPress directory. Yeah, so we got conflicts here. That's probably pre-existing, but and we'd need to, I'm sure if we did if we did a rebase, if we merged in the most recent version of this docs project, we'd probably see a lot more junk kind of get thrown up, because this is what this is pointing at. Yeah, config/wordpress.md, which is now over in GitHub Lando/WordPress. Whole different repo now is where we have the docs for WordPress. So config.md, I'm sure, is still pretty similar to when this PR was made, but it's just in a different repo. So I need to move it on over. I probably just contact the folks and ask them. I'm going to contact folks and just say, hey, sorry, we move stuff around on you. Do you mind moving this over to their repo? And I can do a little PR review as well and just see if there are changes that really should get merged in, or if some of them might be things that we want to have questions about or ask about. So that's what I'll probably do after this. But it's a good example of how things have changed, and if you're going to be contributing to docs going forward, where to look for stuff. I hope you kind of enjoyed this. I know it's kind of a short little run through. You got my silly doc song. Always got to keep your ukulele close. I think there's a story that George Harrison used to keep a trunk full of ukuleles that he would just hand out to people, especially his musician friends. I can't remember, it was Tom Petty or somebody that had some story about George Harrison pulling up and being like, you got to have one of these things. But it's there's sort of I feel like I butcher this thing because I barely know the fingerings, and being an amateur musician, you always feel like you're trampling all over the beautiful legacy of music that human culture has. But it's always good to have something that's close at hand to bring a little levity to your day, especially in the modern era of doom scrolling. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please follow us on Twitch to know when we're live streaming these. You can actually interact with me or whoever's doing the video that day. You can ask us questions, you can annoy us, whatever. That's the joy of the internet age. But if you're not somebody that's available all the time because you're busy with work and things, because I know that's a thing, please follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. Dev with Lando is our username. And sponsor. I should say that more often. Sponsor Lando. If you like what we're doing, go to GitHub. the sponsor buttons on all the projects, sponsor Lando, the organization. Yeah, we need every cent we can get. The more individual users that sponsor Lando, the better the world would be. The less we'd have to think about, hey, how are we gonna make payroll next month to actually work on this thing? So this is what we do. This is all that Mike, John, and I work on at this point, is moving forward Lando, and we're at a really critical point where we're working on Lando 4. So it's super important to contribute right now and sponsor Lando. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll let you all go. Have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow.